Okay, so imagine this, right? You're on vacation, you're exploring this like amazing landscape, and you know that your trip is actually helping to heal the place.
Wow.
Not just, minimizing your impact, but actually making it better,
Yeah.
contributing to its well-being. That's the idea behind regenerative tourism. And that's what we're going to be looking at today.
It's a pretty exciting idea, isn't it? It's a real shift
Yep.
from just, trying to do less harm to actually making things better, restoring and enriching the places we're visiting.
Yeah, exactly. And for this deep dive, we're going to be looking at the work of the Sustainability and Resilience Institute of New Zealand, SRI, and their Project Regenerative Tourism Initiative.
They're doing some really interesting work, SRI. They're not just talking about it, they're actually developing models and frameworks to make regenerative tourism a reality.
Yeah, they're really leading the way, huh?
They really are, and their approach is really comprehensive too, which is great.
So how do they actually define regenerative tourism? What does that even mean?
Well, Asif Hussain, he's the director of SRI, defines it as fostering ongoing rejuvenation and innovation in tourism systems, focusing on restoring and enriching social ecological systems.
Social ecological systems. That sounds kind of complicated. What does that mean for like regular people?
Well, yeah, it can sound a bit jargony, but think about it like this. Think of like a coral reef, a healthy coral reef. It doesn't just exist on its own. It's part of a whole ecosystem.
Right.
It needs the right kind of water, the right fish populations. It even depends on the coastal communities that, rely on it for fishing or tourism. You can't just separate the people from the environment. They're all connected, and that's what SRI is getting at with this definition.
So it's not just about protecting the pretty places. It's about understanding how those places are connected to the people who live there and how tourism impacts both of them.
Exactly. Yeah, you got it. And that's really the foundation for SRI's regenerative tourism model, which is all about understanding and managing those connections between people and the environment.
So this model, it's not just some like vague idea. It's a tool for actually making this happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. It gives businesses and communities and even, individual travelers a way to make decisions that support the health of the place they're visiting. A good example is the Banks Track hiking trail. Yeah. SRI helped develop that, and they used a lot of native plants in the landscaping, And that wasn't just to make it look pretty. It was to support the local biodiversity and to help the ecosystem thrive.
Right. So they're thinking about the big picture.
Yeah, it's about making choices that are good for everyone involved.
Now, SRI also talks a lot about indigenous wisdom, and I'm curious about that. Why is that so important for regenerative tourism?
Well, it's really interesting. Indigenous cultures, they've been practicing regenerative principles for a long time, way before anyone was calling it regenerative tourism.
They've always understood how to, live in harmony with nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how does that actually work in the tourism industry?
Well, a great example is the seventh generation tours.
Yeah.
SRI helped get this business going, and they incorporate Maori traditions and knowledge into their tours so visitors can learn about how people and nature are connected. And that's great for tourists because they have a more authentic and meaningful experience.
Yeah.
But it also helps to keep indigenous culture alive and well,
Right. So it's a win-win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's good for everyone.
So it seems like regenerative tourism is really about recognizing that indigenous cultures have a lot to teach us about living sustainably, and that their perspective is essential if we want to make this whole thing work.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. Their knowledge is invaluable.
Absolutely. So we talked about SRI's definition of regenerative tourism, and we've seen a couple of examples of it in action. But I'm curious about their regenerative tourism framework. How does that actually work in practice?
Well, think of it like a roadmap, right? It's a set of guidelines and indicators to help businesses and destinations figure out how they're doing and what they can do to be more regenerative.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not just a theoretical idea. There are actual steps people can take.
Right, exactly. Instead of just trying to reduce their negative impact, a hotel could, for example, look for ways to actually be beneficial, like maybe by planting trees or investing in renewable energy.
So it's about going beyond just doing less harm to actually making a positive contribution.
Yeah, that's the idea. And it's not just about the environment either. The framework also encourages businesses to think about their impact on the local community, Like, are they creating good jobs? Are they supporting local businesses? Things like that.
So it's really a holistic approach, making sure that all aspects of the tourism operation are actually helping the place where it's located.
Yeah, exactly. That's the goal.
And it sounds like it's not just for businesses either.
Yeah.
The framework also has insights for travelers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. it can help us make more informed decisions about where we go and how we travel.
So, like, what are some things that the average traveler can do to support regenerative tourism? Is it just about choosing eco-friendly hotels and tours?
Well, it's a good start, of course. But I think it goes deeper than that, It's about shifting our mindset. Instead of just being passive consumers, we can be active participants in this whole regeneration process.
I like that, being an active participant. So how do we do that?
Well, I think it starts with asking ourselves some questions when we're planning a trip,
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the impact of my travel going to be on this place? Am I supporting businesses that are genuinely committed to sustainability and the well-being of the community? Stuff like that.
So doing some research, being a conscious consumer.
Yeah, exactly. And, maybe looking beyond the typical tourist traps and trying to find experiences that allow you to connect with the local culture and environment in a deeper way. Taking a cooking class with a local family, volunteering on a conservation project, or just spending some time learning about the history of the place.
So it's about being a traveler, not just a tourist.
Yeah, that's it. It's about immersing yourself in the place and trying to leave it better than you found it.
I love that. It's such a beautiful idea. And it feels empowering to know that our choices can actually make a difference.
They really can. And the more people who embrace this way of traveling, the faster this movement will grow and the more positive change we can create.
That's a ripple effect.
Exactly. A ripple effect of positive change all over the world.
I love that. So we've talked about how regenerative tourism can benefit the planet and local communities, but what about the traveler? What's in it for us?
Oh, that's a great question. And I think that's where the real magic happens, When we approach travel with this mindset, the whole experience changes. We're not just checking things off a list. We're actually engaging with the places we visit and the people we meet on a much deeper level.
It's like becoming part of the story instead of just watching it from the outside.
Yes, exactly. Imagine learning about medicinal plants from a local healer, or helping a community build a sustainable garden, or even participating in a traditional ceremony. Those kinds of experiences, they create a sense of connection that you just don't get from the typical tourist experience.
It sounds incredibly enriching, almost like personal growth is built into the trip.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for these days, authentic experiences that leave them feeling connected and inspired, maybe even transformed in some way.
Yeah. Like that quote, travel is the only thing you buy that makes you richer. But in this case, it's a richness that goes way beyond material things.
I love that. Couldn't have said it better myself. And that brings us to the big question, right? If we really embrace this vision of regenerative tourism, what could the future of travel look like?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? What kind of world could we create if travel became a force for healing and regeneration, not just consumption?
Yeah. I picture a future where travelers are welcomed as partners, not just consumers. Partners in creating a thriving future for these places.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine going somewhere and leaving it healthier and more vibrant than when you arrived. That's what I'm talking about.
That's a powerful vision. It gives me hope. So as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive into regenerative tourism, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. We've been talking about the big picture, but what's one small step that each of us can take today to move in this direction, towards this more regenerative way of traveling?
Ooh, that's a good one. It could be as simple as choosing a locally owned restaurant over a big chain.
Yeah.
Or supporting an indigenous-led tour. Or even just packing a reusable water bottle so you don't have to buy plastic ones.
Right.
Every action matters, no matter how small. It all adds up.
That's what makes this so exciting. We all have the power to be part of this positive change. We'll be back soon to continue our deep dive into regenerative tourism. But for now, we hope this has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to explore the world in a way that heals, not harms.
It's been great exploring this with you. And remember, the journey of discovery never ends. It really is. It's like they've been doing this for centuries, and we're just catching up.
Right. It's almost like we've forgotten something really important.
Yeah, I think that's true. But anyway, you mentioned the Regenerative Tourism Framework earlier. That's where SRI really gets down to the nitty-gritty of how to make all this happen.
Yeah. How does that work in practice? Like, it sounds kind of like a roadmap for businesses and destinations, but how does it actually help them become more regenerative?
It's like a set of guidelines, and the indicators. So businesses can measure their progress and see where they can improve. So instead of just trying to reduce their carbon footprint, for example, a hotel might look at ways to actually sequester carbon, like planting trees or investing in renewable energy.
So it's not just about, like, mitigating the bad stuff. It's about actually doing something good.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes beyond the environmental stuff, too. It also encourages businesses to think about their social impact.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how are they supporting the local community? Are they creating good jobs? Things like that.
So it's really a holistic approach. It's looking at all aspects of the tourism operation.
Yeah, and making sure they're all contributing to the well-being of the destination.
That makes sense. So it sounds like it's not just for businesses either. It's also for travelers.
Absolutely. Yeah. It gives travelers insights into how to make more regenerative choices.
So, okay, let's talk about that. What can the average traveler do? Is it just about picking, like, eco-friendly hotels and tours?
Well, yeah, that's a good start.
Yeah.
But I think it goes deeper than that. It's about shifting our mindset. Instead of being just passive consumers, we can be active participants in the regeneration process.
Okay. I like that. Active participants. How do we do that?
Well, I think we can start by asking ourselves some questions when we're planning a trip.
Okay.
Like, what impact is my trip going to have on this place? Am I supporting businesses that are really committed to sustainability?
Yeah.
And to the well-being of the community?
Right. So, like, doing our research, being conscious consumers.
Exactly. And maybe looking beyond the typical tourist attractions, try to find experiences that really connect you with the local culture and the environment. Like maybe take a cooking class with a local family, or volunteer on a conservation project, or even just spend some time learning about the history of the place.
It's about being a traveler, not just a tourist.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about immersing yourself in the place and leaving it better than you found it.
Yeah. I love that. It's such a cool idea. And it's kind of empowering too, to know that our choices can actually make a difference.
They really can. And the more people who travel this way, the faster this whole movement will grow, and the more positive impact we'll have.
It's like a ripple effect.
Exactly. A ripple effect of positive change all over the world.
It really is. Yeah. A ripple effect. That's a great way to put it. But, we've been talking about how regenerative tourism is good for the planet, good for the local communities. But what about the traveler? What's in it for us?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think, honestly, that's where the real magic happens. When you start traveling with this regenerative mindset, it really changes the whole experience. Instead of just going from place to place and, checking things off your list, you actually start engaging with the places you visit and the people on a much deeper level.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you become part of the story instead of just watching it from the outside.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like imagine learning about medicinal plants from a traditional healer, or helping a community build a garden, or even participating in a ceremony. Those kinds of experiences, they give you a sense of connection that you just don't get from, the typical touristy stuff.
It sounds amazing, really, like incredibly enriching. It's almost like a personal growth is part of the trip.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it definitely can be. And I think that's what a lot of people are yearning for these days,
Yeah.
Just like authentic, meaningful experiences that leave you feeling connected and inspired.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit transformed.
It's like that quote, travel is the only thing you buy that makes you richer.
Right.
But in this case, it's a different kind of richness, It's
Yeah.
not about stuff. It's about something more.
I love that. Couldn't have said it better myself. So, that kind of brings us to the big question here, doesn't it? If we really embrace this whole idea of regenerative tourism, what could the future of travel look like?
That's the question, isn't it? What kind of world could we create if travel actually became a force for healing, for regeneration, not just consumption?
Yeah. I think, I imagine a future where travelers are welcomed as partners, not just as consumers, partners in helping these places thrive.
Partners.
Imagine going somewhere and actually leaving it healthier and more vibrant than you found it. That's the dream.
It's a beautiful dream. It gives me hope. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into regenerative tourism, I want to leave our listeners with one last thought, one last question.
Yep.
We've been talking about the big picture, but what's one small step, one little thing that each of us can do today to start moving in this direction towards a more regenerative way of traveling?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
It could be something as simple as choosing to eat at a locally owned restaurant instead of a big chain, or making sure you support an indigenous-led tour, or even just, packing a reusable water bottle so you don't have to buy plastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are all great ideas.
Every little bit helps. It all adds up.
It really does. And And that's what I find so exciting about all of this. We all have the power to be part of this change.
We do.
And to make a difference. Well, that's it for our deep dive into regenerative tourism. We hope you've enjoyed it and that it's inspired you to explore the world in a way that heals, not harms.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you. And remember, the journey never ends.